And we're back looking at the Constitution line by line. We're tag teaming it.
Yes, we are.
As we are reading each line. And we are now in Article 2, Section 3, Clause 1. And this pertains to messages to Congress under the broader heading of legislative powers of the president.
Yes.
So there's some legislative components to the executive branch. And one of these has to do with messages to Congress. And I bet we end up talking about the State of the Union before we're all done. All right.
SOTU, State of the Union.
Here's how it reads. He shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the State of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. Necessary and expedient.
An expedient.
So the State of the Union is supposed to be hey, here's some things I've noticed.
Yes.
Here's some things you might want to look into.
Right.
From my angle, do this,
right.
not that.
And it's turned into a report card to the president, the State of the Union, to the Congress. The State of the Union is good, or the State of the Union is strong, or...
But it's really just turned into a circus.
Okay. Totally correct.
Okay, good. I thought you were about to dispute that.
I use the word theater.
Theater.
But circus is really good. So, did that say how often he has to give the State of the Union
It
message?
does not. It says from time to time.
Okay.
So you could do it every month. You could do it every 3 years.
Does it say how he has to deliver it?
It says that he will just give to Congress information about the State of the Union. Could be a memorandum.
Right. So the tradition started by George Washington was to write a message, and
somebody read it.
Yeah, and it would be sent over to Congress, and there it would be read on the floor of Congress. We got a message from the president.
Well, who would read it? Speaker? In the House?
I don't know that. My suspicion would be it would be a clerk.
Yeah, I was about to say it's bound to be just a clerk.
Yeah. And so the president would not go over to Congress to do it.
But you're missing such a good photo op.
See, this is what happened. When technology came along, presidents realized, hey, this is a marvelous opportunity. Calvin Coolidge, I believe, was the first one to use the microphone to talk via radio to the country. In other words, to go over...
Ironically, Silent Cal.
Yeah, Silent Cal. But to go over the heads of Congress and actually speak to the American people.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what ends up...
So you start with this annual letter, which became an address, which became let's ignore the people in Congress, let's speak over their head to the American people.
And
it becomes a circus.
And that leaves Congress with the only role of standing up or sitting down, clapping, not clapping.
Yeah.
Just goofy.
Yes. It really is.
This should be a dispatch saying, hey, from my angle, this is how I think things should play, and let's move on with it. I'm very uncomfortable with the president even being in the chamber of Congress. I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I do not like it. I think Congress is Congress and the president's president, and they should all have their own spaces.
The president actually, and this depends on the president, but presidents have made regular trips over to Congress.
Yeah.
For informal meetings.
They didn't
lunches.
ask me.
They did not ask you.
Well, but they're going to the cafeteria. They're going to office, conference rooms. They're not on the floor of the House of Representatives.
Right. But if you're the president, here is a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate you're the president.
And you guys aren't.
Yeah. There's nothing like all of you standing up for me. You notice I don't stand up for you all.
That's right.
So this is a marvelous exercise in presidential power, telling him who's boss.
Yeah, and it just rankles me.
And I assume it rankles various senators and congressmen who have a sense of their own importance.
Well, sure.
And it should.
And constitutional. Yeah, constitutional importance.
Yeah.
And to have this, showboating going on. So then what do the Congress persons do? Oh, they all wear white because they're sending this signal. Or they're all wearing this pin because they're sending that signal. And all of a sudden, well, used to be a here's my take on things, and here's a dispatch, have clerk number 3 read it, and now we've turned it into something that's just unseemly.
What? Democracy isn't pretty, is it?
It is not. Well, and I think that show democracy is not
Yeah.
particularly.
I think we both agree. I tell my students, I require them to watch it, and I tell them this is political theater at its highest level.
You bet.
And it's not pretty. It's bizarre. Count the number of times that people stand, and usually in an hour speech, it's 60 to 70 times.
Yeah, that's
They're
just
popping up once a minute.
I know. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yes. But
And it's undignified.
yes, it is. But why should it be dignified?
Because they have the public trust. I want the people that have the public trust to have some dignity.
Why do the American people have dignity? Yes, we do. But do we, just by being people, but do we...
We have human dignity. That's a nice save.
We do. We have human dignity. But do we have to dignify our dignity? I mean, you earlier said, look at the people who could vote.
Well, correct.
Okay. Well, these are our representatives, including the president.
It's like the old saying, we get the government we deserve.
I totally agree.
Yikes.
This is what we've elected. Every single one of those people. And if they want to act like buffoons with the encouragement of their president,
Yeah.
or the discouragement of their president,
Or the majority whip, or
whatever,
whomever.
then I say let's go for it. This is our government. It doesn't give you great faith sometimes. But
Well, and what do you have to compromise in order to be a political whack-a-mole for television?
and see, you can tell. I would argue you can tell so much about the senators and the congressmen by their behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always the old thing that there's the show horses and the workhorses.
Yeah.
The show horses are the ones who will do something to stand out. Here you have a nationwide audience seen on who knows how many TV stations. And do you make an effort to stand out? Or the workhorses often sit quietly, or sometimes they don't even show up.
Yeah.
They've got a job to do, and it's not to be either a cheerleader or a vocal detractor of the president. So, you notice that the justices of the Supreme Court show up at these things.
Yeah, and
But many of them don't show up.
they just sit there. You don't see a lot of standing and sitting
No,
there.
you don't. And the same with the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Joint Chiefs of Staff are sitting there, and they're not participating in
That's right.
in the show.
Yeah. So,
Well, there you go.
the president's supposed to give a message, and what it's evolved to is the president gives this message in late January, early February. It's timed with the budget message that the president sends to Congress, which is supposed to get there around February 1st. So ideally, the president crafts his message around this is what I want to accomplish with my budget.
Yeah.
And you guys will then spend the next several months arguing about my budget. But here's my priorities. Here's what I wish. Here's where I think the country is right now.
These are the measures that he considers
Right.
necessary and expedient.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's our line.
Yes.
That was part A of Clause 1, by the way.
That implies there's more to
There's
this
going to
clause.
be a part B to Clause 1 of Section 3 of Article 2.
I can't wait.
That'll be our next line next time. Thanks.